2. Write this down, please. F times of equals is. And make sure that you give yourself enough room that you can write information above and below. Okay. We've been doing problems with F times of equals is for quite a while. We've had the word problems from lesson 61 there. The problems, where are they? 8, 9, 10, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, where it says 2 1/5 of what number is 6 8/3. Things of that sort is what we've been doing. They're in this form. Today we're going to do, we're going to have word problems where we have to actually set this up. And over time, I have come up with some different ways of identifying and helping you to identify where to put different parts. Okay? And using this F times of equals is, it can be very helpful. So follow along, make sure you write these down, make sure you write them somewhere where you can look back and find it easily when it comes to homework and test time. Alright, obviously the F stands for fraction. Once it gets to writing. Fraction. Okay? That shouldn't be too hard to realize. There we go. So the F stands for fraction. Of is our total. But we can also think of it as being a number of other ideas like original number, starting number, beginning number, the whole, expected, like if you're throwing a party and you're expecting a certain number of people there, that's kind of the total that you're expecting to be there. And this one's very important to remember. First event in time. Okay, so does yesterday happen before today? Class?
Yeah.
So yesterday is the first event in time compared to today. Okay, and that'll make more sense when we get to it. Yeah, does everybody have those written down as ideas for stuff? Okay, take with me here. Get those ideas written down because it's very helpful when it comes to these word problems. Then I'll go through and say, okay, what idea does this number give me or represent?
Is the volume supposed to be turned down?
Excuse me?
The volume?
On my,
Yeah.
is it loud to you?
No, I'm just saying, is it supposed to be turned down?
No. I don't think so. Oh, on that?
Yeah.
It's a good question. Looks like it's taking care of itself. Hopefully it's not an issue. Alright, the is the part or the result, and most importantly for items to remember, second event in time. So you have those ideas written down, and that should be able to help you to identify where to put certain numbers. But the most important piece, and once I started applying this and realized this myself as a teacher and said, whoa, this would make things easier. This piece will help you tremendously. The F and the is have to represent the same item. The others you can look back on, what ideas, total, beginning number, starting number, part, whole, that type of thing. But I really want you to get memorized the idea that the F, or the fraction, and the is have to represent the same item. And hopefully that'll make a little bit more sense when we look at these word problems. Did everybody have that written down? It's kind of well. Okay, so let's look at this word problem here. 5/8 of the gnomes who lived in the magic forest had happy faces. If 840 gnomes had happy faces, how many gnomes lived in the magic forest? Kind of wordy, okay? But we can break this down into some easier parts by using the information we have. So everybody has their notes out, looking at them? Okay. Let's start off. 5/8. I think there's probably supposed to be a hyphen between the 5 and the 8s. But what is that number?
A fraction.
It's a fraction, isn't it? So where does the fraction go? At the beginning of our, I'll just write it real small here. F times of equals is. The fraction goes first. So I'm going to have 5/8. And then I generally go ahead and write my times sign and my equal sign just so that I can have it set up so I know where to put those other parts. What is 5/8? What idea is it representing? The gnomes that had happy faces. I used to have a pen, special pen, before I got updated here. Let's see if
Wouldn't it draw smiley faces?
that would draw smiley faces.
And stars and
Magic pen.
The magic pen, that's where that's at. I've been wondering where that's at.
Creative pen.
Let's see what the creative pen provides for us. Ah, there they are. Okay, so the fraction represents the number of happy faces. Okay. Are we given in our problem the number of gnomes that have happy faces? What is that number? 840. So where does that have to go?
At the end.
At the end. Okay. The question is, how many gnomes lived in the magic forest? What is that idea? What's the idea that we're looking for there?
How many gnomes live in the forest?
And what is that idea? The total. Okay. So, and we talked that total goes in the middle or in the of spot. So the variable that I'm going to use is what number? WN. Just like we would if it said 3/4 of what number is 62. This is the same setup. Okay, so we were able to identify that the fraction is obviously the fraction, and we were able to identify that 840 is the same item because they're both happy faces. All right? How do I solve this now? If I rewrote this as 5/8x equals 840, how would I solve it? I would have to get x by itself by doing what, class? Multiplying by the reciprocal. Multiply by the reciprocal. So we put 840 over 1. Same thing here. I have multiplication between them. I just rewrote this as 5/8x. Here I'm showing 5/8 times the variable Wn. So it's just a little different notation, but it's the same exact setup to solve. So once you get to here, if you're missing your of, your middle part, just multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the coefficient, which is 5/8, or 8/5, excuse me. So these go down, and so that leaves you with what number is 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 841, 68, and then 168 times 8. And you could do that on your calculator. That'd be 1,344. see how you can, using the ideas that I told you, you can get stuff put in the right parts, and then it's solved by multiplying by the reciprocal. On Monday, 2 4/5 times the acceptable number of rock badgers took refuge in the mountain caves. 640 was the acceptable number. How many rock badgers took refuge in the mountain cave? I read this problem for 3 or 4 years, and each year when I first started teaching out of this book, and every time I just kind of panicked, I froze. I was like, oh my, what do I do with this? I have to stop, even myself, I have to stop and go, okay, don't worry about all the information right now. Let's just get it put in the parts we know how to work with. We know we have a fraction, don't we? The fraction is 2 4/5, and we know that our form is f times of equals is. So the fraction goes first, 2 4/5. Then I'm going to put times and equals. I'm also going to go ahead and draw my line here. Those my happy faces on my other one, but here, 2 4/5 times the acceptable number of F badgers or rock badgers took refuge. So the item that this 2 4/5 represents is the number that took refuge. Once we do that, now let's look. What does the number 640 represent? Does it represent the number that took refuge? Does it say 640 took refuge? No. It's saying 640 was the acceptable number. They want to know how many rock badgers took refuge then. This is what we're looking for. That's where our variable is going to go. We're looking for how many took refuge. Is 640 a total?
Yeah.
That's the total that would be okay to be in a cave. In the gym here. How many of you have noticed this sign on the wall over here? Anyone? Anyone? What's it say?
Like 15,000 or something.
1,500?
Yeah.
It says gymnasium maximum occupancy. 1,600 for general use for like basketball. 2,000 fixed where they put seats out. What does that mean?
2,000 people can sit there.
They're saying 2,000, but is that all we can get in it? No, they're saying that that's the acceptable safe amount, right? The fire marshal has said that's how many people we'll let you have in there, but does that mean we can put more in there if we needed to? Yes. That's our total that we're allowed. Same here, the acceptable number. So maybe we need to go back real quick and put the idea of acceptable on our list of words. The acceptable number, the expected number, those two things both can go there. So we know then based on that the 640 is our total or our of value. Now do we have to do any multiplying by reciprocals, or is it already set up just to multiply? Kelsey? Just set up to multiply. The only thing I would need to do is change. Right, change the mixed number to an improper fraction. AC moving in here a little bit. Alright, so that makes it 10 14/5 times 640 over 1 gives you the value. So I'm going to use my calculator. 640 divided by 50, divided by 5 equals 128. So reduce that to 1 to 128, and then 128 times 14 is 1,792. So 1,792 badgers took refuge in a cave that really only 640. Does that answer make sense based on the fact that almost 3 times what we would expect to be able to stick in there. What's 3 times 6? 18. So 3 times 600 would be 1,800. Is that pretty close? Yeah, we can check to make sure our answer makes sense by doing a little estimation on that. One more. This one that won't take as long to get through. When the fog lifted, 400 ghosts were spied schooling near the outskirts. If 240 ghosts were not spied, what fraction of the ghosts were not spied? So we're looking for what fraction on this problem, times, equals. And the idea of the fraction that we're looking for, what fraction of the ghosts were not spied? That's what we're looking for, the number not spied. That should have been were there as well, right? What fraction? Fraction would be singular though. I don't know. Anyway, are we given the number that we're not spied in the problem?
Yeah.
What's the number that we're not spied?
240.
240 ghosts were not spied. So that's going to go opposite the fraction. What idea goes in the of? Zach, what's the idea?
400.
What's the idea though? Total. So what is the total number of ghosts?
400.
Zarian?
640.
How did you get 640, Zarian?
Because I added them to
You have to add the two together because 400 is the number that were spied, 240 were not spied. That's two different groups, isn't it? So the total of those we put together makes that 640. And to find the fraction then, we can write 640 over 1 and 240 over 1 and multiply by the reciprocal of which one? The reciprocal is 640 over 1. So 1 over 640. We want the fraction, so don't actually divide this out on a calculator. You're going to have to reduce it down. I can cancel 0 and a 0. 8 I know will go into 24 3 times. It'll go into 64 8 times. 3 times 1 is 3. 8 times 1 is 8. 3 8. Nifty. Okay. That's not so bad, is it? Problem set. What's the lesson we're doing here? 62. So 1 through 30. And I'm going to make this due Thursday. So if you're here tomorrow, you'll be able to work on it tomorrow in class. That'll be great. If you're not here tomorrow, but you're here Thursday, when's it due? Thursday. I'm going to expect you to have this due Thursday, whether you're here tomorrow or not. So don't on Thursday say, well, I wasn't here Wednesday. Well, you were assigned it today, so you'll have plenty of time to do it. You'll have study hall if you want to use that today, early morning seminar, and class time tomorrow.